Hi guys, Jamie from Curators here. This is the second video in the Life and Times of Jason Todd series. This video will be focusing on Jason's return as Red Hood into one of the most badass Batman characters of all time. Now, as you can see, I'm dressed up as Red Hood because I'm so into the character, and I'm going to take you through a chronological order of his story.
So, let's get to it.
Jason's resurrection story begins when Superboy Prime punched the reality wall. Now I know how random that sounds, that was just what was happening at the time. Later, people simplified it by Jason was thrown into the Lazarus pit, he came back. After Jason came back, he lost his memory, he didn't know who he was wandering the streets, and Talia al Ghul eventually found him. This led into the comic Red Hood Lost Days, which was written by Judd Winnick. A little aside, Judd Winnick is responsible for making Jason Red Hood. In Red Hood Lost Days, Talia gives Jason his memory back by throwing him into the Lazarus pit. Problem is, it makes him insane, and he turns out he wants to kill Batman. He's very angry, so he starts lashing back at the world. Talia doesn't want him to kill Batman, so she stalls him. She sends him to different teachers across the world where he learns how to kill. And at some point along the line, Jason realises what she's doing and his goals change to where he wants to confront Batman in Gotham and punish him, along with Joker. What gets really weird at the end of the graphic novel is Talia seduces Jason and they sleep together, so their relationship goes from a mother and son to very complex, and that was intentional on Judd Winnick's part because he wanted to show how Jason was messed up mentally at that point when he came back. At the end of the story, Talia gives Jason the Red Hood helmet, and that is symbolic in terms of his relationship with Batman. Batman took on his greatest fear by becoming a bat. Jason took on his greatest fear by taking on Joker's original identity. After becoming Red Hood, Jason met up with Thomas Elliot, Batman's childhood friend, also known as Hush. He told him about Batman's identity that Hush could use for leverage. This led to Jason meeting Batman on the battlefield. He took Robin hostage, Tim Drake. In this battle, he switched out with Clayface because he wanted to get the lay of the land and prepare for what would happen in Under the Red Hood. Next comes the Under the Red Hood story, written by Judd Winnick again. Jason returns to Gotham and starts a war with Black Mask to get Batman's attention. His real motivations are to provoke Joker and provoke Bruce Wayne into the meeting that he wanted and he planned in Red Hood Lost Days. All of this leads into a really emotional standoff between Red Hood, Batman and Joker. Jason has taken Joker captive and wants them all in the same room. It's emotional because Red Hood isn't angry with Batman because he didn't save him. There's a direct quote from the comic that he says,
"I don't know what clouds your judgment worse, your guilt or your antiquated sense of morality. Bruce, I forgive you for not saving me. But why? Why on God's earth is he still alive?"
At the end of Under the Red Hood, Batman still refuses to kill Joker, which leads Jason to give him an ultimatum where he throws Batman a gun and tries to force him to shoot him in the head. Batman throws a batarang at him and completely shuts Red Hood down. Joker escapes, sets off the bombs within the building that Jason set up originally. Batman stops him, but Jason manages to escape, which kicks off the antagonistic relationship that Jason and Bruce will have for many years going forward. Red Hood's next major appearance after this is in Green Arrow Seeing Red, where he kidnaps Oliver Queen's sidekick, Maya Dearden. Jason's reasoning for this is because he thinks they have a lot in common. They were both raised on the streets, they both had to do bad things to survive. Maya was forced into prostitution to support herself, and a part of Jason did feel sorry for her because Oliver Queen and Bruce Wayne are both billionaires who are very privileged, and Jason wanted to show her the error of Oliver Queen's ways. Another important Jason story was Battle for the Cowl, written by Tony Daniels. The context of this story is Bruce Wayne is dead and Nightwing is destined to take on the mantle of the Bat. Jason takes it on himself, but his characterization in this story is just terrible. Jason acts out of character because he shoots Damian Wayne when he doesn't harm children. He tries to kill Tim Drake and he tries to kill Nightwing. The only good thing about this story is Jason's Batman costume. It looks very militaristic, and that is very faithful to the character. After Battle of the Cowl, Grant Morrison took on the majority of Jason's writing, and what stood out about this time was that Morrison brought the red hair version of Jason back from the pre-Crisis on Infinite Earth timeline. This version of Jason appears in Revenge of the Red Hood. He designed his own costume that looked very similar to the original Red Hood costume, and it was just awful as well. He took on Dick Grayson and Damian, who had become the new Batman and Robin at this point. In a marketing standpoint, Jason wanted to mirror Batman's brand identity, so he took on his own sidekick called Scarlet, who was a victim of Professor Pig. A lot of people reacted negatively to this version of Jason, and I don't blame them because the reasoning behind the red hair was very thin. The explanation Morrison gave for Jason was that Bruce forced him to dye his hair black because he wanted him to look like the Dick Grayson version of Robin. After the Morrison run, Judd Winnick returned to writing Jason, and this was a godsend as far as I'm concerned. In the Streets Run Red, Jason is in Arkham and Bruce Wayne has returned. Eventually, Jason escapes through mercenaries who wanted to break him out. They did that because they wanted him to complete a specific job, but Jason refused, so they kidnapped his sidekick Scarlet and held it over his head. This led to him teaming up with Dick Grayson and Damian to rescue Scarlet. During this time, Red Hood returned to the more traditional version of his costume, which looked a lot better than the Morrison version, I think. What could have made it better is that if Winnick had not chosen to keep the red hair, but it still looks a lot better than the Morrison version. To sum things up, Jason's evolution into Red Hood helped make the character relevant again. Winnick was so influential at this point because Jason became popular again. His survival instincts made him very distinct from the rest of the Batman family. That became a big reason why Jason turned into my favourite character. Batman might not have agreed with his motivations, but a lot of people could sympathise with Jason because criminals in Gotham are some of the worst people in the world, especially Joker. It made Jason relatable in the fact that he just wanted to clean the world up in his own way. Thank you for watching the video, guys. The next one we're going to be doing is the final one in the series about Jason's development in the new 52/Rebirth universe. Please like, please subscribe if you want to see more.